Hello everyone, my name is Bindu Maira and I've been a healer and life coach for the last 18 years. Tarot is magical. It's mystical. Join me on a 7-day journey where I'm going to take you through some of this magic and mystique of the cards.
Hi everyone. So welcome all of you. I am Bindu Maira. I've been a tarot card reader, crystal healer, hypnotherapist and life coach for the last 18 years. And I'm going to be with you for the next 7 days at 8 o'clock every day to take you into a deeper level of tarot as a transformational tool. Ever since we began to think, men and women have searched for meaning in their lives and have used a huge variety of methods to determine what the future holds for us. And some of these methods, of course, are astrology, pendulums, palmistry, numerology, cartomancy, etc., and pendulum dowsing. Tarot, of course, is an extremely popular one. In fact, some people might say tarot's been done to death, but many of these techniques have actually passed down from generations and have come from different corners of the globe. And tarot today is possibly among the most popular. And I'm here today to, as I said, to take you a little deeper into the cards, because the tarot cards were never really meant to be simply a tool for divination. They carry very ancient wisdom about life, about spirituality. And more than anything, tarot was actually always meant to be a tool for transformation. It's a separate thing. The divination aspect just works wonderfully well. Now, the tarot cards contain and come from things like Egyptian mysteries, Hermetic philosophies, the Kabbalah, alchemy, and from various spiritual traditions. And apart from simply divining the future, they actually give you invaluable insights into your own personality, into maybe some situation that you may be involved with all the other people there. You can actually get into people's heads through tarot, understand what they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they're planning. They can be that precise. And so through a tarot card reading, the cards actually help you crystallize ideas. And through crystallizing your ideas, they help you reach decisions which may have actually been difficult for you up to now. When you look at the word Taros, T-A-R-O-S, in Egyptian, Taros actually means the royal path of life. And the word Taru, T-A-R-U, actually means to require an answer. So over centuries, with influences, as I said, from different countries, different spiritual traditions, the cards finally evolved into a collection of the most basic patterns of human thought and behavior. In fact, the mystique of the tarot cards combines astrology, numerology, symbology, and the occult to reveal insights into your past, into your present, as well as your future. And apart from just telling you what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, next month, or a year down the line, the cards can be used for divination, of course. They can be used for therapy. They can be used for mirroring. Most importantly, they can be used for counseling. And if you sat through a good tarot card session, you can actually get up feeling really empowered with tremendous clarity. In fact, I've been doing the cards professionally for the last 18 years, and I've always said this, that if somebody gets up from my table with a sense of clarity and a sense of empowerment, tarot has done its work. Now, what we need to understand is, okay, let me talk to you a little bit about the cards, and then in the latter half of the segment, we'll actually do some cards. So what the cards really do is, they tap into your energies, and they firstly hold up a mirror for you, showing you where you are today, what is it that's brought you to this point, where are you heading, what are going to be the influences and obstacles in your life in terms of situations, in terms of people. Now, I'm sure a lot of you whom I'm talking to, the majority of you, believe in karma. Now, tarot also is a firm believer in karma, but let me begin by asking you, if I were to ask you, what do you think we are really doing here on earth? Do you think we were born to just grow up, study hard, land a great job, find a partner, make a lot of money, have children, bring them up, grow old, die, and then the cycle repeats? And the cycle repeats again and again and again. Now, this cycle repeats for a point and a purpose. And that basically is soul growth. Because the fact of the matter is, we are not physical beings who belong to Earth or come from Earth who have that occasional spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience here on Earth. So, Earth really is nothing more than school. We've all come down to experience life in a real-time way in this vehicle called a body, and through our different experiences, do different learnings. And every soul is walking a different learning curve. Someone's here maybe to learn independence, someone's here to learn forgiveness, someone's here to learn about fame and fortune, someone's here to learn about poverty, someone's here to learn about humility, and so on and so forth. Now, if I was to take this one step further, whatever is your own individual karmic path is actually something you've decided yourself. From your past lives, obviously, everything is cause and effect, and we create a kind of, I like to call it an orbit with which you come down. So, and not only that, they say the soul actually, when it leaves the body, and when we go into the spirit world, which is the real world, the soul makes an assessment in terms of where it has reached on the rungs of evolution. And based on that assessment, it figures out or chooses or decides what it needs to learn next in order to grow. So for our next life, we actually write our own life scripts. We choose our parents, we choose our near and dear ones, we choose our situations, we choose our challenges. I don't like to call them problems, because it's in the facing of these challenges that a soul grows. Let me give an example as to how something like this would work out. Say a soul's learning in this life was meant to be independence. A soul might choose to learn that independence, maybe in the garb of an orphan, maybe in the garb of a single person. Being in that situation would teach independence. If someone needed to learn forgiveness, you would write into your life script something where you're at the receiving end of unfair stuff till you transcend it. So we have what I refer to as destiny points, which are some things, certain things that absolutely will happen in your life, not because the Lord above is rewarding you or punishing you for them. These things will happen because through your past actions, through the frequency that you've been vibrating at in your previous lives, you create this orbit and you've made this choice. So we all come down with a basic blueprint. This is your karmic blueprint, and that incidentally is how astrology works. The planetary position of the stars, etc., etc. So you've come down with destiny points, as I said, with some things, certain things that absolutely will happen. But how you operate between these destiny points is completely a choice you make. If you're here and you choose to take a step left, your next step will take you further left. You choose to take a step in the right direction, your next step will take you further right. So how you operate between these destiny points is completely a choice you make. There is no such thing as an absolute destiny. I think we all know that, where you just sit back and life happens to you. We all know our actions, emotions, choices, attitudes, our effort, lack of, all determine where we end up. Having said that, there's no such thing as being completely in control either. We're walking a very fine line between the two. So fate and free will coexist. And I, in fact, have never done a tarot card reading without going through this little spiel to enable someone to understand that primarily, first and foremost, we are creatures of choice. In fact, that is the biggest gift we have come down with in our lives over here, the ability to choose whether to go left or whether to go right. So it's all about choice, and there's only cause and there's effect. You change the cause, you will change the effect, obviously within the blueprint that you've come down with. See, if every single thing was preordained, life would completely lose its meaning. Whether it was results, success, anything at all. Take away the effort from it, take away the desire behind it, take away the motivation behind something, and everything's going to become meaningless. So I'm going to repeat what I say: fate and free will coexist. And we've come down primarily to learn to exercise our free will. Now, tarot can be uncannily accurate. They blow my mind every single day. I've been doing cards, as I said, for 18 years. And I have to say this, I don't normally talk about this, but I have lost track how many times I've even known to the day someone will die. I don't address this professionally because I don't think it's our place. I'm only making this point because the cards can actually be that accurate. But being that accurate, now what we need to understand is that primarily tarot is a guide. And it's one of the best tools that you can use to make the whispers of your own inner guide available to you. Because what the cards do is they show you unseen influences. They show you patterns of behavior. They show you challenges. They point out your strengths. And what tarot does in a reading is, tarot shows you suggested options to take and likely outcomes if you take them. So very briefly, there are 78 cards in a deck. They are divided into something called the major and the minor arcana. Arcana in Latin means secret or a box of knowledge. And actually, each one of these cards contains a whole book of knowledge. You can study it for a lifetime. Now, each card of the major arcana are 21 in number, and the major arcana are the heart of the tarot. And basically what they do is they represent man's journey through life. Each card stands for a stage in that journey and an experience that a person must incorporate to realize their wholeness. See, if you think about it, we all have archetypal energies. I don't think there's a human being different anywhere on the planet. We all laugh about the same thing. We cry about the same things. We desire the same things. We fear the same things. And the cards, with the way that they have come together, been put together, the cards actually represent and express all the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual energies that you can ever go through. So they cover the entire gamut of a man's range of experience here on earth. Tomorrow, in fact, I'll take a little time to actually explain to you how the cards work, the scientific process behind it. If it wasn't scientific, it would not work. It's that simple. So let's begin now by just understanding the life lessons and spiritual guidance of a few cards, and then I'll take personal questions after that. So, as I said, this is about man's journey on earth. What I'm going to do is I'm just taking you through the 21 cards of the major arcana. I'll probably do about 3 or 4 a day. As I said, each card is a whole book of knowledge. So let's begin now. I've actually made these cards a little larger so that you can see them a little better. Okay. Let me see. So this first card is the card, it's called the Fool. It's called the Fool. And what this is about, if you look at this image, this is representative of Gemini, Uranus, and the element is air. If you look at this card, what are you seeing here? You're seeing this very happy-go-lucky figure standing at the edge of a precipice. He's holding a white rose. The sun is shining. The yellow in the card tells us it's a very happy, lovely energy. And he's carrying very little baggage, very little baggage. There's a dog barking at his feet. And we know that with the next step that he takes, he's probably going to go over the precipice. So now, let me just tell you the symbology of this card. So this Fool actually represents what we refer to as the initiate. And this 0 is almost representative of the egg. This is just before the beginning. The Fool, because he's a fool because he's so pure. It's all about purity. And when we come into this world, We are childlike. We are innocent. We are pure. And when we come into this world, we carry the absolute innocence and purity of a child, and that innocence and purity comes from a complete lack of experience, at least in this life. And because there's a lack of experience, what are children like? Very, very trusting, childlike, and because they are trusting, what happens? It makes them fearless. They have a lot of faith. They are hopeful all the time. There's nothing negative. And basically, they live in a space of tremendous potentiality, tremendous potential to grow on a soul level. Now, how is the growth going to happen? Only once he takes the next step forward. And even though it takes him into a chasm which is unknown, we don't know what's coming. It's a very, very powerful stage. As I said, it's just before the beginning. So this fool is naive. He is naively pure. And as I said, this represents the untapped potential because he hasn't really even begun his journey yet. And what this card tells us when it comes up is there's a whole world open out there for us. But in order to discover it, you often need to make a leap of faith. A chasm cannot be crossed in 2 leaps or in 3 small ones. The future is always unknown. And all of us mostly like to function in a place of wanting to know with certainty what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen day after. Then I'll feel all right. But that's not how life works. That's not how the future works. And in order to actually really experience in a real-time way all the wonders of the world, what do you need to do? You need to travel really light. You need to travel very light. You need to carry only as much as you need. Now, what does one mean by traveling light? We don't need to carry all the paraphernalia that we actually end up collecting to feel comfortable on a day-to-day basis, which I'm talking about whether it's all your belongings, all that's familiar to you. All that's familiar to you could mean all the people who've been on the journey with you, the where you're at, everything that's familiar. If you carry the load, and it becomes a load if you carry too much heavy stuff and too much baggage, it's not going to allow you to function the way the fool needs to function in order to begin to experience life and to begin to experience all the wonders of life. It also represents carrying emotional baggage. You know, all of us, we indulge in what I refer to as woundology. Something may have happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago. The story hasn't finished. It's still being discussed. It's still being talked about. And what we don't realize is every time you replay the movie, what happens? You drink the poison again. So travel light. Let bygones be bygones, because you cannot live in the past. Neither can you jump into the future to have any certainty. So the fool carries no baggage. This dog here represents all the voices that you will hear constantly. And these are the voices of your schools, teachers, media, society, family, friends, peer group, all telling you what's good, what isn't, what's right, what isn't, giving you parameters within which to function. So the other lesson, and probably the most important one with the fool, is to emphasize on your own individuality. Don't compromise it. Every soul that comes down is different. Everybody has come in with different learnings. Everybody has come in with a different history, and I'm talking karmic history. Everyone's carrying a different karmic blueprint, and everybody's here to do a different karmic learning. So do not let go of your own individuality. Believe in yourself. Follow your heart. And only then will the wonders of new experiences, new pathways open up. See, it's very simple. You can either live in faith or you can live in fear. There's really no halfway house. You will need to explore, to try out new things. I always say this, you can live 70 years as if it was 1 year, which means you're doing the same thing every day. It's a comfort level zone, but you're doing the same thing every day. Or each day as if it was 70 years, which means you can have a really fulfilled life every day if you're willing to jump into new things, explore, function in faith with purity. Because not just sometimes, very often, you need to make that leap of faith. The other learning that comes through the Fool is live in the now. I already did say that. The past is gone. The future is uncertain. You can't even go back to, say, 10 minutes before now. You can't go back and change anything in the past. You can't jump into the future to ensure that certain things will be in place. What you have is the now. What you have is the moment. In fact, God is in the moment. And if you live every moment to the fullest, absolutely the fullest, it's almost like being in a state of constant and perpetual meditation. And then what happens is you end up leading an absolutely full and fulfilled life, because then you're not carrying excess baggage. So expect the unexpected, be spontaneous, let go of expectations, being uninhibited and carefree is the way to lead your life. Having faith, trusting the flow, being open-minded, feeling protected and loved, living in joy. And if there's a pipe dream you want to pursue, follow your heart. There is unlimited potential, because see, everybody has different potential, everyone has different desires. That too comes from all our past karmic blueprints in terms of what it is we're here to explore, what is it we're here to grow into. So there's an unlimited potential if you function in spontaneity, which is inherent in every moment of our lives. So believe in yourself, follow your heart, no matter how crazy or foolish your impulses may seem. Try something new. That's the only way to growth. That's the only way to excitement. That's the only way to new experiences. That's the only way to soul growth. Challenge yourself. Dare to expand your boundaries. And make this blind leap of faith, which life will ask you to many, many times. And whenever this card comes up, it tells us that there's a choice ahead of you, which may carry all these dangers as such. But this choice is an important one, because it's going to take you onto a path. And here's the catch. What is very often viewed as rebellion can also really simply be a soul asserting his individuality, following his soul path, striking out on a new path, expanding horizons. So I have to say, there's a lockdown learning with this card here as well. It is the perfect time. We are almost like initiates. We don't know what the future has in store. I think somewhere a lot of us already understand and recognize that there's going to be a new normal. So this chasm here represents the new normal. This is unknown territory. It's uncharted. Nothing, what's happening right now is completely unprecedented. Something like this has never happened before. The world is still grappling with and grasping with how to deal with it, how to cope with it. And a lot of it is happening through trial and error, which is largely what life is about. So we really are in a place like this. And more than ever, we need to travel light. Whatever has been our lives in the past, by past time now I'm talking about pre-COVID, it was what it was. It had its beauty, it had its challenges, but I think there's going to be a new normal. So be prepared, travel light. If you remain in the zone of wanting your life to carry on and be exactly the way it was before, then you'll probably face challenges and you'll have a hard time dealing with things. But if you're open-minded and you say, okay, I'm happy to go with whatever's coming. I'm happy to make the changes. I'm happy to make the leap of faith, because there's so much that I can't control, that is not in my hands. There's so much going on way over and above what is in my control. So this dog is, to me actually, at this stage, represents all the news media There's just so much information coming at us right now. And honestly, I do have to say this because I get calls every day from people having panic attacks, getting worried, etc. You know, the more of facts, figures, etc. that you watch, it gets a little harder. I'm not saying don't watch news. Of course, we need to know what's going on. Of course, we need to be cognizant with what we need to do. But I mean, if you find that you're starting to get fearful and worried, best to just shut it out for a while. So there'll always be new ways as life flows, new ways of business, new ways of interactions. There's one happening right now. I never imagined I'd end up doing tarot online like this. And this is the first time I'm doing this. So we're seeing it. So be open, have faith, and yes, make a leap of faith with something. This is a good time to, even in the lockdown time, to maybe try something new, start something new, and expect the unexpected. So that was a lot of talk with the Fool. Let's get now to the next one, which is the Magician. So the Magician, what is happening here? The Magician is a card of Mercury, Earth, Gemini, Topaz is the crystal. This card is about conscious awareness, focused action, conscious magic, ambition, self-empowerment. He's a master juggler, a conjurer, someone skillful, cunning, adaptable, intelligent, open-minded, willing to teach and learn. The Magician is this card of the active masculine principle, the ultimate achiever. This is someone with the ability to control and manipulate people, events, things. I'm sorry, I'm going to excuse myself for 1 minute. I don't know what my battery seems to be a little low. Just a minute. I'm sorry about this. Bravo. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, so we'll get back to the Magician. All right, so if you look at him, what's happening here? He's got one hand up, one hand down. On his table, there are different tools. There's a chalice, which represents emotions. There's a pentagram, which represents money and material things. There's a sword over here that represents air and thoughts. And he's got the sign of the infinity on top of his head. So a magician basically is a conjurer. As I said, a magician can do anything. Now, this sign over here tells us that all life is endless. And because all life is endless, all power is boundless. The primal forces of creativity are yours if you can claim your power and act with awareness and concentration. So what he says is, as above, so below. Now, what the magician does is he gets his ideas from spirit, and he acts almost like a lightning rod because he has the ability to bring down these ideas and create in real terms and manifest in real terms. So this one arm is extended up to the divine for inspiration, the other pointing towards earth to ground this potent energy. So this magician is the perfect conduit for miracles. He symbolizes the power to tap universal forces and use them for creative purposes. It's a card primarily of self-empowerment, of being the central moving force of his own world, getting the ideas, using all these tools of whether it's communication, whether it's money, whether it's emotion. If you really look at him, to the magician, getting one of these things is not his end purpose. He utilizes all this to empower himself further, to increase his level of consciousness, if you will, and he has the ability to create in real terms on the ground. So what this card really talks about is having control of yourself, and so freedom of control from others, concentration of individual will and power, originality, willpower. So the magician really is the ultimate achiever. And what makes him so powerful is that he's not afraid to act because he believes in himself. He knows he has the tools, he believes in himself, and is willing to put that belief on the line. He also knows what he intends to do and why. And as I said, what also makes him so powerful is that the objects themselves don't mean anything to him. To give an example, I mean, it's not becoming a millionaire. It would be the whole process involved, the challenge involved, the excitement involved in doing and taking what it does to get there. That is the magician energy. So he has the ability to manipulate and control all these things because of his sense of himself. And it's about taking action, doing what needs to be done, realizing your potential, knowing that your potential is limitless. And each and every one of us walking the planet actually do come down with limitless potential, because we're all a spark of the divine. Divinity is not just our home. It really is who we are. We all carry that spark. And I say this all the time, actually, we would all have the ability to potentially levitate if we believed it. We possibly don't do it because we believe we can't do it. There are people around doing it. This is just an example I'm giving you. So this is about understanding your potential, having clear motivation, and knowing what you're doing and why. Acknowledging your motivations and understanding your intentions, and being committed to the creation of it. Applying the force of your will. It's a card of tremendous vitality. It's about being a visionary. So the primary lesson of this card is, don't be a spectator to your own life. Don't allow people, situations, events to manipulate you and mobilize you into going either left or right. Once you're an adult and you have begun to know yourself and recognize your potential, don't be a spectator to your own life. Play the leading role. Intention and action are both required. Just intention is not good enough. This is the intention that he calls down, and action is where he makes it happen. So he becomes almost like a magic wand himself. When there's an alignment of both, you will create magic and you will find your power. Now, the other wonderful thing with the magician is he does not try to judge or restrain others. So many of us spend our lives just judging everyone, simply because somebody doesn't feel, see, or in the same way that you do doesn't necessarily make someone wrong. Each person is right from where they are coming. So he doesn't try to restrain anyone. He's just so self-contained. He knows that people must be allowed to make their own mistakes and to learn from them. So this Magician card is saying you are the center of your universe and all your reality is going to radiate out from you to create your universe. So will you stay with the control of the mundane world, or will you go from there and grow into spirituality? You have the power, you have the control. Your immediate world can be completely created by you. So as I said, it's a card of self-empowerment. Now, I would like to make this point here because, see, when we die, what do we take with us? Do we take our homes? Do we take our bank balance? Do we take our belongings? We don't even take our children. We don't even take this body that we have. All we really take with us is our consciousness. What have we become in terms of our consciousness? And that then is going to determine your frequency. It's going to determine where you end up. It's also going to determine how you end up when you come back, based on what it is you need to learn. So the Magician card is really all about developing that consciousness through all these tools that we have been given. You know, everything, all these things are props, whether it's money, whether it's relationships, whether these are all props to enable the soul to grow. So this consciousness is what we have made of ourselves from the tools we have had, the money, the relationships, they're all props. So the Magician represents this conscious will wherein you are a conscious co-creator of your life and all you do in the external world. So I come back to the lockdown learning. Use the tools that you have. We all have a lot of options. It's a great time to ideate, you know, and it's a great time to begin to put certain things on the ground. It could be something as simple as learning to play an instrument or whatever it be that gets you. Become proactive rather than being reactive. So this is the Magician card. Now we come to the High Priestess. This is actually a life card. Okay, can you see? All right. So the High Priestess, if you look at her, there's a lot of blue here, a lot of water energy. She's sitting with a scroll in her hand. The scroll is actually meant to be the Torah, which is the spiritual book of the Kabbalah. And these are the two pillars of Boaz and Joachim, which represent magic. And there's a very lush backdrop. So the High Priestess is really all about the goddess within. It's all about your inner world. It's all about your intuition, wisdom, introspection, silence, understanding. This is about the goddess within. The High Priestess represents a person of deep knowledge and learning, with a deep knowledge of the occult, a very psychic person because she's connected with her inner world. She has the ability to understand and interpret the Word of God. She's got divine wisdom. She's an enlightened human being. She has an understanding of how things work. And her primary need is a need to understand. Her journey is all about the inward journey. She needs to understand the reason why things work the way they do. Understanding is her goal and the essence of her being. So with this knowledge, this higher wisdom, intuition, she uses this to teach and to nurture and to protect, never to control. She's also representative of the Egyptian goddess of magic, Isis. And as I said, these two pillars are the two aspects of magic, which can be white or black, white or dark. Magic is actually magic. It's just the intention that makes it white or black. So the High Priestess is a spiritual authority, and she also symbolizes duality. The world we live in is a world of duality. If there's day, there's night. If there's birth, there's death. If there's happiness, there's sadness. One could go on and on. So she represents creativity and destruction, light and dark. And in her hand, she holds the Torah, which is the ancient Jewish scroll. And this sign signifies that duality actually is an illusion, because each one carries inside of it the other embedded in it. Like, there would be no day if there was no night. There would be no sadness if there was no happiness. There would be no death if there was no birth. So each one carries the energy of the other. So yes, on a conscious level, there is duality, but actually it doesn't exist. So an understanding of this duality and finding that balance within ourselves will come from that understanding that comes from delving into the spiritual mysteries, from getting in touch with the subconscious, with our spirit. That's where you have your answers. The High Priestess is the guardian of these secrets. She knows how to lead the way into spirit, so she's a wise woman. And this is the card of a healer, a card of many tarot card readers. So what this card, the primary learning of this card is, as I said, it's the final feminine principle as well, is trust your instincts. And sometimes what you need to do is wait. One doesn't have to be in a proactive, place all the time where you're constantly doing things. Sometimes it's in the waiting that things, it's almost like incubation where things are growing, but not obviously. So there are times when you don't need to take action, but you need to be in a state of allowance. That is possibly among the hardest things all of us find to do, able to do, to be in a state of allowance, to allow, whether it's people, whether it's a situation, to mature in the way that it's meant to. Everything cannot be rushed. Everything cannot happen today. So there's a sense of passivity to this card, but passivity contains its own power. And that power comes from giving the mind a chance to work properly by resting. There are people who only know action. And when you're so busy doing so much all the time, you never get a chance to even reflect on what that action has taught them. So passivity allows the unconscious to emerge. And that's the deep part of us. That's actually the really important part of us. Because that's the part that has actually come here to experience whatever it is we are experiencing. And all the alchemy that happens after experiencing things outward happen internally. So it's only through withdrawal from outer involvement that we can actually allow the inner voice to surface. This inner voice of vision, psychic voices, and it's precisely to avoid this inner voice that so often you find people just never resting from action and movement, because it's not always easy to square up with yourself. When you listen to your inner voice, then you're taken into a place of saying, okay, this is who I am, this is what's happening with me, this is what I need, so now this is what I need to do. And sometimes it may not be as easy as just leading one's life on when I say superficial, I mean just doing what needs to be done and not squaring up. So this card also represents a time of passive withdrawal. It can enrich our lives by allowing things inside to awaken. So the High Priestess actually signifies all the potential that we have not realized. Possibilities that our lives sense, through which we can see as possible. And without the wisdom of the unconscious, we can never really fully know ourselves or this world. So the High Priestess signifies wisdom at its deepest level. Using your intuition will give you the direction, the right direction to proceed. And this is also a card saying, be aware of your emotions, connect with them, work with them, do not deny them. Because An emotion is simply your spirit's way of getting your attention, of calling attention to underlying causes that need to be worked through on a soul level, on a karmic level. And if they are not addressed, then of course they will create blockages and not allow you to grow into the finest soul that you were meant to. So the High Priestess shows us that the path to realization is reached by overcoming your own self-doubts and listening more trustingly to our own feelings and intuitions. It's about the goddess within. She's the wise witch inside of us. All of us have her. And she can open the doors of perception and sensitivity. So this is also a card saying pay attention to signs, to dreams, to hunches, to synchronicities, things, people sometimes just show up in your lives. And it's all for a reason. Synchronicity is nothing but an amalgamation or arriving at a point of convergence of so many different diverse energies that you have experienced and gone through to bring you to the next point of evolution on your soul path. So with these synchronicities, etc., even if they seem obscure to you, there's a lesson there for you. So move towards it. That's the lesson of the High Priestess. I don't know how much time do we have. I seem to be talking a lot. What is it? Oh my goodness. Okay, so we'll do one more and then we'll get to the cards. So then we come to the Empress. It's a beautiful card. If you look at it, she looks luxurious. She's sitting on a beautiful throne, wearing beautiful clothes, wearing a crown filled with stars. She's pregnant, and there are cornfields. It has a very, very lush feel to it. This is a card of Venus and Cancer, and 3 is the number of creation. So the Empress really is about Mother Gaia. It's a card of earth and of nurturing, and this is a card of creation and creativity in all its forms. The surrounding land is brimming with trees and plants. There's a lake, element of water. Water always signifies emotion, and water always signifies a flowing and a moving. And it's fed by a waterfall, representing the subconscious and the natural psychic connection between mothers and children. So the card, this is about actually experiencing in the physical body all the joys of being alive in every which way. It's about abundance in all its forms: growth, fertility, protection. It's about comfort, health, wealth, friends, love, mother figure. It's about actually being a mother. It's also about creativity in projects, starting new things, the birthing of a project, a creative project. And very largely, this is an involvement with nature. The heart sign, this is the sign of Venus. It denotes emotional comfort, stability, security, all pleasures and joys of the senses, which strengthen your connection with the natural world. You cannot avoid the physical aspect. The essence of this card is harmonious cooperation of otherwise opposing forces working together towards a common goal. So it's about domestic harmony, personal fulfillment. It's also a symbol of the feminine instinct, having intuitive flashes. And it's about love between two people. The Empress is pure emotion. Now, until we don't completely experience physically the outer world and all the passions that flow with it, it's difficult then to transcend to the next level of consciousness. You cannot hope to transcend it only through passion that you sense or you read about or you're told about, not the intellectual kind. The spirit that it's about actually experiencing the spirit that fills all of existence. It's a card of physically experiencing all the joys in the body, not just intellectually. So the body and the natural world are realities that must be integrated rather than denied. The Empress represents nature and all that is natural in all its glory. And develop this nurturing side of you. Make things work smoothly for yourself and for others. It's about being a mother, mothering, being mothered. It's about domestic harmony, fruitfulness of action. She wears a necklace of 9 pearls, representing the 9 planets and representing the fullness of all their aspects. And a crown contains 12 stars, which are the signs of the zodiac. So effectively, she's wearing the universe as her jewelry. She's experiencing it all. This is the great mother. It's not just the forms of nature, but the underlying principle of life. The river is the force of life, running like a great current beneath all separate forms of reality. And we experience most fully when we actually give of ourselves in unrestrained passion. And see, the water is never the same. When water is flowing, it changes, and yet it remains the same river. So human beings too, we change as we go along with our experiences. Physically we change, our cells change every 7 years, I think, to be replaced by new ones. Yet we always somewhere remain ourselves. So this is a card largely about sensory awareness, honing your senses, creativity, tactile experiences of harmony of mind, body and spirit. So nourish life around you, nourish yourself, nurture yourself, spoil yourself to the extent that you can. Don't turn into an ascetic. Get involved physically in the doing of things and in the connectedness with Mother Earth. It harmonize with natural rhythms, strengthen your connection with the natural world. The Empress asks you to embrace the principle of life and enjoy all its bounties. And enjoy all that is natural rather than the false sophistications and pleasures that take us actually pretty far away from our roots. So that is the Empress. Now, I had planned to do the next card as well, but I seem to have been talking for a long time. So I think now I'm going to take questions. If anybody has any tarot questions to ask, I'll give you your answers. What I'll do is I'm going to explain to you scientifically how the cards actually work, and then we'll get to the cards and do a few more questions. All right? So thank you all for being here. And okay, Shivani, you wanted guidance for your future. Let's see what's come up for you. Shivani, so what has come up for you is this is you've actually drawn the Hierophant, and I know you possibly understand this. I'll be talking about this card tomorrow, but this is a time for you to do some learning, to grow in your own wisdom, which will come through study, which might come from some organized courses, if you will. It's also a time of figuring out for yourself what is of real-time value to you and what isn't, what works for you and what doesn't. There's a card come up saying there's positive transformation which is occurring for you on a soul level, and to whatever your question was, the answer is a yes. But it has a caveat with it. What this is saying is admit the truth to yourself and act accordingly. So I think you would know what this is referring to, but one way or the other, this is a time of tremendous spiritual growth, tremendous learning, which would come by being on a spiritual path and through a lot of study and learning. Yes, so tarot is used to predict the future, and I did tell you all that they can be really, really precise. So I've got general guidance for the future, okay. Kanchan, you want guidance, just simple guidance, okay. Let me see what the cards are saying for you. Okay, Kanchan. All right. So what's come up for you is that you're possibly carrying more than your share of load, whether it's a workload, whether it's a mental or emotional thing, and or one way or the other, your attention seems to be in the problems. Um, so it's not allowing you to really raise your head and even look around and see what else there is. What are your other options in terms of what you can do and not? And the guidance coming through for you is, you I see you making efforts, but you sort of will go 2 steps forward, one back, two forward, one back. You've got to learn to see something through, not by working 24/7, not by giving 200% of yourself. You do need to take a little time out for yourself. Let's get back to the Empress card that I talked about. Nurture yourself. A card has come up saying protection. So this is lovely. If you've been worried about something, which I think you have, you, your loved ones, and your possessions are safe and protected by heaven. So with whatever you're doing, firstly, take on less. And then with whatever you do it one step at a time, but see it through. So that's your guidance. Supriya, is painting a good career for you? Let me have a look. Ah, lovely cards. Yes, I think you love it. I'd be surprised if you're not doing it already. You absolutely should. It's going to open up new, wonderful vistas for you. I don't say this often, but I'm going to say this. I think you have been an artist in a past life. This is something you're carrying inside of you. You seem to have an inherent, intrinsic knowing of. It's not about the technique of painting, but in terms of what it is you want to express. There's something inside of you that needs to be brought out. And absolutely, yes, painting and art is the right way to do it. It's going to put you in a wonderful place of, how do I say this? It's almost like, purity restored when you come back to feeling like a child, feeling it's going to bring a lot of joy into your life. Look forward to it. Look forward to seeing you all. Thanks for being here. Bye. I hope you enjoyed that.